All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Because today, we're looking at something pretty wild. We're talking about how a humble pantry staple can act as both a delicious, dairy-free comfort food cheat and a scientifically backed medical adjunct for immune support. We're focusing on a truly fascinating ingredient today, nutritional yeast. You know, you might have seen it sitting in a shaker at a local health food store or sprinkled over a bowl of popcorn, but the clinical research behind it, it's absolutely remarkable. We're going to break down exactly what the source material tells us about this incredible dual life. So, here is our agenda for today. We'll start with what nutritional yeast actually is, then we'll look at its role as an immune system booster, check out the vitamins and amino acids, and wrap up with some delicious dairy-free alternatives and practical everyday recipes.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1. What is nutritional yeast?
First up, we really need to clear up some common misconceptions here. When people hear the word yeast, they usually think of, baking bread, brewing beer, or maybe even yeast infections. But nutritional yeast is an entirely different biochemical entity. The crucial thing to remember is that unlike the active yeast used in baking bread, which, by the way, some cancer patients are actively advised by researchers to avoid due to metabolic waste products, nutritional yeast is a deactivated, highly beneficial powder. Our sources note that it's a dried, killed yeast that actually serves as a byproduct of sugarcane or beet molasses production. Because it's been deactivated with heat, it absolutely cannot grow or cause yeast imbalances in your body. Instead, it acts as a true, nutrient-dense superfood that delivers a massive payload of health benefits with none of the risks associated with active yeasts.
Moving right along to Section 2, the immune system booster.
Now let's look at the fascinating biological science behind why oncologists and nutritionists are paying such close attention to this. It goes way beyond basic nutrition. This is about actively upregulating your body's natural defenses. It brilliantly illustrates the whole food as medicine concept, because nutritional yeast is extraordinarily rich in complex fibers called beta-glucans. The literature actually refers to these beta-glucans as biological response modifiers. Think of them as personal trainers for your immune system. Seriously, they don't just sit there, they actively enhance your body's defenses against infections and have been shown to increase specific immune functions, particularly natural killer cell activity against cancer cells.
And the sheer clinical impact documented in the research is just incredible. In one specific study cited in our sources, breast cancer patients were given a very, very small amount of beta-glucan daily. We are talking about the equivalent of just 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutritional yeast. And get this, after merely 2 weeks on this protocol, these patients saw a 50% increase in monocytes in their bloodstream. Now, monocytes are a type of white blood cell that acts as a first responder in your immune system. So to see a massive 50% spike from such a microscopic dietary addition, that is incredibly compelling.
But the clinical applications certainly don't stop at just boosting your white blood cell count. The literature notes that beta-glucan supplementation has been found to actively accelerate wound healing after major surgeries, like mastectomies. Plus, over 20 different studies out of Japan have demonstrated that these specific beta-glucan compounds can actually enhance the effectiveness of chemotherapy and radiotherapy treatments. We're talking about drastically improving a patient's overall survival and quality of life during some of the absolute toughest medical protocols imaginable.
All right, on to Section 3, vitamins and amino acids.
Aside from its immune-boosting prowess, nutritional yeast is an absolute nutritional powerhouse on a micronutrient level. It is completely packed with building blocks your body desperately needs. Just a standard serving contains 16 different amino acids, which makes it a fantastic protein source. It also contains a full spectrum of B vitamins, which, as you probably know, are famously difficult to get on a purely plant-based diet, along with high levels of trace minerals like chromium. Actually, it is so incredibly effective for supporting the nervous system that traditional herbalists, like the renowned Maria Trebin, refer to nutritional yeast specifically as nerve food. Our sources point out that pain stemming from neuritis, which is the inflammation of a nerve, can respond incredibly quickly to the rich source of B vitamins found in these simple little flakes.
Let's dive into Section 4, delicious dairy-free alternatives.
Let's transition from the clinical science to the kitchen, where this ingredient truly shines as a culinary magic trick, especially for anyone looking to reduce inflammation by cutting out dairy. It's genuinely exciting to realize that these golden flakes, which have this remarkably cheesy, savory, kind of nutty flavor, are actually working to accelerate your body's healing at the same time. Many cancer patients and health-conscious folks are advised to avoid heavy dairy, right? Because it can be super difficult to digest and is often pro-inflammatory. Well, nutritional yeast steps in as the perfect substitute. It gives you that rich, umami flavor profile of cheese, but it delivers immune-modulating beta-glucans instead of heavy animal fats. It's a real win-win.
And finally, Section 5, Practical Everyday Recipes.
Let's make this highly actionable. How exactly do you incorporate these flakes into your everyday meals? Well, our sources provide a brilliant hack for a dairy-free mac and cheese that feels incredibly indulgent. You start by boiling gluten-free pasta, something like chickpea or lentil pasta, in exactly 3 1/4 cups of water. Now, the absolute secret here is that you do not drain the water when the pasta is soft. Seriously, leave it in there. You let the pasta soak up most of that liquid. Then, you stir in 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast and some sea salt directly into the pot. That starchy residual liquid seamlessly absorbs the yeast to create this thick, luxurious, creamy cheese sauce without a single drop of actual dairy. It's a perfect comforting vehicle for those 16 amino acids and B vitamins we talked about.
Or, if you want something to just sprinkle over your meals, you can easily shake up a batch of what the sources affectionately call no-harm parm. Think about standard Parmesan cheese for a second. It's heavy in dairy, and it requires significant digestive energy to break down all those animal proteins. But the no-harm parm, it's incredibly simple. You just combine half a cup of hemp hearts, half a cup of nutritional yeast, a teaspoon of crushed sea salt, a little garlic powder, and the zest of 1 lemon right in a mason jar. Give it a really good shake, and boom, you have a plant-based topping loaded with protein, omega-3 and omega-6 fats, and those powerful beta-glucans. You can sprinkle this stuff generously on salads, pastas, and roasted veggies to instantly elevate the flavor while actively supporting your immune system. So, as we wrap up this explainer on the phenomenal dual nature of nutritional yeast, I want to leave you to ponder the future of food as medicine. We've just seen how a simple yellow flake can provide the absolute comfort of cheese while simultaneously increasing your white blood cell count and aiding in surgical recovery. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday ingredients, just sitting quietly in your kitchen cabinet right now, might be waiting to completely transform your health? Thank you so much for joining me, and I highly encourage you to look at your pantry with a whole new perspective today.